There we go. Again, good afternoon, everyone. I hope I find you well on this lovely day. It's a pleasure having you once more in the channel here and having a nice conversation. This is the second session I'm running. The first one, most of you saw it recorded on the channel. I have created Uncle DM's hat. And on the first one, the first video I did create, the session was about how to run one-shot adventures, okay? That information was based on some scriptures I have gathered from Monte Cook, for those of you who know him. He has Malhavok Press. He helped write Monte Cook's World of Darkness. He helped with some books in Forgotten Realms, I think, and also definitely on Planescape. So he's really good at what he does. And I know for a fact from the feedback I received that the information was really good and helpful, because now what I'm doing, I'm running the sessions here in English with you, but at the same time, I'm running the same sessions in in Greek, because we have another group with about 150 members where we're running weekly sessions with them and explain the same things again. Now, this session today is about how to run your campaign like a TV series, right? And this theme began from a thought I had for many, many years, because I was watching TV series, I was watching nice movies, and I always wanted to run a game, wanted to run a campaign, wanted to run something that would simulate what was happening in the TV series. And I couldn't find a way for it. But I did some research, I gathered some experience through the years, because, well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm 39 and I started playing D&D the first time when I was 10. So I have about, give or take, 28, 29 years of experience in role-playing games overall and in general. Now, with that being said, what is usually the reason why we want to play our game as if we're running a TV series, right? One major reason that I've seen is because people have aspirations that they want to eventually create a campaign, a homebrew or something that they want to sell over, or they want to transfer into a book that they can sell. I actually have a friend from Greece. He's an actor. He did voiceover for Assassin's Creed, The Odyssey, and he did exactly that. He ran a campaign so he could actually transfer it into a book, a series like Salvatore's books, kind of, and sell them. Somebody else, though, you might be starting to be like TV producers or something like that, and you want to experiment how to transfer, you know, a D&D game into a TV series, or vice versa. Another reason why you do this might be because you want to improve your games, okay? By adding further detail, by adding a bit prose, a bit character. For example, we have a friend in one of our gaming groups, in the bigger group we have, in the Greek one. We have a guy who's a musician, okay? So he plays a bard, and sometimes during the intervals that we do on the sessions, when we run them live, we ask him to play some live music to entertain the people who are watching the stream. But we have also comedians sometimes, we have actors who come in, we have people who work in nursing homes for little ones, and they help like play with younger kids. So we're trying to improve the game, and we add another layer to the service we provide, to the entertainment we give to the people, okay? And as I said in the beginning, another major reason why you want to do this is because you were inspired by a book you read, or a recent TV series you saw, maybe The Witcher, maybe The Black Sails, or maybe Game of Thrones, whatever floats your boat, basically. Okay, so with that being said, this might be some of the major reasons why you might want to run a game like that. Now, today on this video, I will use some terms that we usually see on TV producers, like how they write the stories, how they build the cast, the theme of the series, how it works out. All this stuff, we take them from TV production and we will put them on a D&D game or an RPG game in general, because I'm just using D&D here tonight because it's more widespread known. But some of you, I know you might be playing with Savage World systems, you might be playing with the World of Darkness, you might be playing from West End Games with the D6 system. It really doesn't matter what system you're using, because this session here focuses on how you tell a good story, with the structure behind it. Okay, and speaking of structure, writers that write for TV series, they use a document called the series Bible. All right, that's like a big draft that they have that explains what the series is about, what is the theme, what's the story basically they're trying to tell. Okay, so excuse me. So if we could break this down, okay, and use it for our sessions, we'd say that document lays out the basic premise of the show, how a show will normally run. Okay, it also is a formula for us. What every episode within the series, what under what tone and what theme will run. So maybe somebody wants to play, let's say, a high fantasy series, for example, right? And you want to do it in 12 sessions, okay, 12 adventures, maybe. It's really important to have in mind what is the tone you want to have from the first episode to the last episode. If it is a high fantasy, you need to follow specific things that you want it to have. If you're playing a heroic fantasy game, you need every session to have a heroic feeling in it, okay? If you're playing something that reminds you of World of Darkness, so it needs to be a bit dark, creepy, and a bit scary, mystery. So every episode needs to follow that tone, that theme. I think the most important thing with the Bible is that, as I said earlier, because you set the tone and the theme, it helps you as a DM keep track of your progress, of how you process the things, okay, how you assert how every episode will go, how your whole campaign will go, okay. Let's say, for example, you have read the Dungeon Master's Guide and it has these sanity points, okay, and you were inspired by Call of Cthulhu and you want to implement this in your game. So setting every session out of these 12 to have something happen within every session that we call for sanity checks for the players, okay, it's something that gives you the idea, okay, how I want to run my game. So it's really important for the DM. It helps you stay focused, because when we create a campaign, when we create a series of sessions we want to run as DMs, because we put a lot of inspiration into what we create, because we're enthusiastic about it, we tend to drift off. So what the Bible does helps you, go back into alignment, helps you go discipline yourself, and don't lose track of what's the purpose, what you're trying to tell here. Also, it helps your players get a feeling for the upcoming campaign world and the background they need to create, under which they need to create their characters, which is another really important thing to keep in mind. So in other words, the Bible, okay, the series Bible, in other words, is the campaign handout that you want to give your players before you begin, setting the theme, setting the tone, getting them ready for what's coming. Now, next after that comes a formula, okay? So formula, in effect, within the Bible is, in a sentence or two, you will be describing what happens to the characters and to the story within each session, okay? And now, for those of you who don't know, formula, when we create a TV series episode, is broken down into two aspects: open-ended and goal-oriented, okay? So open-ended formula for a TV series envisions an ongoing situation, one which the species keep performing the same job from week to week. Like exactly, bright example to that would be the cop shows like Law and Order, New York PD. Every week you see them, like they're doing the same thing. They hunt criminals, they solve mysteries, they defuse the bomb, and so on and so forth. This is an open-ended formula. It's really good for a TV series because it helps the story to keep going without end. So you see some series like Law and Order that they run for like 14, 15 seasons now. That's because the basic formula they're using is an open-ended. Now, the opposite to that, okay, which is the goal-oriented formula. A bright example to that is, let's see. All right, that would be the freedom fighters, okay? Which means there is a wrong king on the throne. The heroes are the freedom fighters that try to oust the person from the throne and put the rightful king on the throne at the end of the series. That's a goal-oriented. Once the goal is achieved, story is finished, story is done. And these usually goal-oriented settings are really bad for TV series because that cuts down their ability to play around with how they want to go with the episodes. But it fits really well for a campaign that we want to run because we know there's a start and there's an end. I think one example to that as a RPG was the Pathfinder: The Cursed Throne. I think it was the second series they did with the 6 adventures. That was a really, really nice view of a goal-oriented campaign. Let's see what's next. Now you can be smart about it, okay? And you can combine, and this is my favorite, and you can combine a goal-oriented with an open-ended formula together. So that means how we would see that in a campaign as we play. That would be that the heroes have the major quest that they need to go something and solve mystery or rescue the princess or kill the dragon or something. That's like the open-ended thing that might not be solved in one session, might be ongoing, let's say. And at the same time, they have the small side quests. One way to see this in a real world TV series, that would be the X-Files, okay? You had at the core the two investigators checking aliens, solving mysteries, exposing things that were happening, while at the same time, Mulder was trying to find what had happened with his little sister. So it was like a side quest ongoing. At the same time, the bigger story was progressing. That's a really, really good way for how you can set your adventures. I had a conversation the week that just passed. Somebody was saying how to implement small side quests. So within the formula, when you set up your open and your closed theme for how you want to run the stories, your side quest, the goal-oriented quest, can be set off from the beginning. Actually, the heroes know both the long term and the short term of what they need to do. So now, let me see. I wanted to give you a few examples of like campaigns that you can use. Okay, one of them would be, for example, like Undead Hunters, right? On this campaign, the theme is that the heroes are working a bit like the police department, where they go and catch undead creatures or dead people who escape the underworld, and they put them back or they destroy them. Okay, that's one setting. This follows like an open-ended theme behind it. A second campaign setting would be the Wasteland, where the PCs are Erks mercenaries, they're wandering a war-torn wasteland, protecting helpless people from bandits and offering to the survivors consolence and security from the conflict. That's another open-ended campaign that you can run as an idea, okay? And then the third one is the one I described, which is the freedom fighters. Again, the heroes are fighting against an oppressive leading regiment, and they want to oust it, and they want to put the rightful ruler back on the throne. That's a classic, very classic, closed theme campaign. Okay, now that leads us to the next chapter, which is, I think, the most important thing that you will have to face. And also, it is especially if you've been playing for quite a few years, is the most important thing that you will need to have in mind, because that will make the difference between, you know, you're just running another homebrew campaign to whatever everybody else out there is running right now, okay? And that thing is the theme and the tone that you're gonna set for your campaign, right? The theme is the central idea that your series explores, okay? And it should be broad and simple. And themes can be expressed as pairs of opposed ideas. Okay, to give you an example with that, I use the freedom fighters example, right? In this one, you can have injustice, which is the wrong king ruling, and you can have bravery, which is the heroes being the brave ones, go against what's happening in order to transform the situation, okay? Let's see. As another example, okay, you have the undead hunters. What it could be exploring as a theme is that some boundaries in a society that should never be crossed. okay? Or another theme is from the Wasteland campaign. Could be, can people atone for terrible things that they did in the past? Okay, that's some things that you could be exploring. So next time you want to run a homebrew campaign and you want to set up your campaign in a way that works for you, and think about what is the underlying theme of the campaign that you want to play. What the story basically are you trying to tell, right? As an example, apart from these examples, more real-time and more widely known is The Lion King, okay? We've all kind of have seen it, we have enjoyed it, and we have been kind of inspired by it. Now, if you take a step back and you see the whole story as a whole, okay, what the writer is trying to say, basically, and I think Elton John is saying it on his song, is basically the circle of life. You know, the father passes away, the uncle tries to take the throne, the son comes back after a long sojourn of discovering himself, claims back his rightful place in the circle of life. That's the story, that's the theme of the story behind everything that you see. It's the circle of life. So for you, you need to decide what is that underlying theme. What are you basically trying to say? It might not seem very important right now if you're playing a game with your adult friends and you've been campaigning together for years. But imagine you're playing with your kids at home and you want to create an adventure for them to have fun, but at the same time you want to leave them with something when the adventure finishes. This is a good example, a good thing to think about. Okay, what is the underlying theme I want my children to take away from? Like good always defeats evil, or evil always turns upon itself, or people work best when they combine their strengths together. Okay, to teach about friendship. And speaking of which, actually, you need also the three E's. Whenever you tell a story as a dungeon master, you need to have the three E's. So it means you need to be entertaining, you need to be educating, and you need to be engaging. It's the three things to have always in mind of how you want to run your game. Now, tone. We just described a bit the theme. Now it's time for the tone. Tone is the mood you want to establish. Okay, it can be, for example, a lighthearted or a horror show. One way to think about how tone works for you and what you resonate more with, okay, I would suggest as an experiment, take out a piece of paper and write down on one side, write down all the campaigns that you know, Eberron, Forgotten Realms, Ravenloft, Dark Sun, Dragonlance, whichever, because you might be playing other campaigns as well. Okay, write the names, okay, and on the other side of this paper, on the other side of the list, write down the first things that come to mind in terms of tone. Okay, let's say, for example, right, Ravenloft might be dark, horror, or creepy. Forgotten can be like high fantasy, everything goes a bit more lighthearted. And Dark Sun can be hot, humid, or desert struggle, don't trust anybody, and so on and so forth. Okay, that is, as an experiment, is really good to show you how you perceive the campaigns and how they're written, to give you an understanding of how things can work, right? Let me see. So when we describe tones, okay, the three examples I used earlier for you, let's say the freedom fighters, right? I said bravery versus injustice. So, but what about the tone? As a tone, if we decide to go on a bit light-hearted tone, okay, it could give you a swashbuckling feel. Okay, the Three Musketeers come into mind now. It's easy to describe. It's easy to think about. Okay, that would fit well. Okay, now when we describe the wasteland with the ex-mercenaries, they're trying to make a living while protecting the people around them. It doesn't preset you too much about a high fantasy where everything goes and very light-hearted. Okay, it rather makes you think of it's a bit grim, it's a bit serious tone, maybe a little dark, maybe neutral. People are in limbo because there's no hope necessarily straight away as you begin the first couple of adventures. Makes you think about, okay, how maybe things might work out. Maybe a movie or two like to help you see this thing would be, think about in terms of Yojimbo, if you've seen it, or The Road Warrior, to help you, find your way around how it could work. And now third, you have the undead hunters, And in that one, we could go many ways. Okay, we could be lighthearted, we could be very dark indeed. But if you use a dark tone in an already dark setting, it helps. It tends to go very dark very fast and might kill the mood for some people. But what you can do, you can play the opposite way around. You know, you can put in a very light-hearted mood and funny situations in a dark situation, in a dark background setting, which I think Ryan Reynolds played in the, how was it? How was this movie called? Rest in Peace Police Department, RYPD or something like that. So there you could see a bit of like light-hearted mood within a dark setting with a bit of exaggerated black humor and over-the-top action, which you can use a bit like thematics from Eberron, because it has like a bit noir setting there with high fantasy magic and over-the-edge action all the time almost. Now, once you have set the theme and the tone for what the story you want to say, you can go. Yeah, the next stage would be you can go and you can have a look at novels, at other TV series. You can have at graphic novels as well. You can have comics maybe that they inspire you to find the pictures for the ones that will best describe your setting. Now, another thing to keep in mind, because I've seen some people they work this way. So as I said, we first create the Bible, all right? We set the theme of how, the story we want to say, how every episode will go, and then we start delving deeper and deeper to setting the theme and the tone. But I've seen other people, where they do the work, as we call in coaching, they do the reverse engineering. They go from the end towards the beginning. So they first set the theme, the tone, and the graphics, and then they reverse backwards towards, okay, what is the story I wanted to say here, okay? And what I want to say to you is that that's perfectly fine. It's the same thing I've seen with some people on how they build their characters for whatever campaign they're going to play, okay? What we tend to do first, we think a race and the class, and then the background. I've seen people going first for the background, the faults, the vices, the special characteristics, because they think and they believe that this is what will be coming to the fore more often. And then they went towards finding the class and the race that best describes the mood and the theme or the tone of what they want to play. It's exactly the same thing. Now, as I said earlier, go to find graphics, visuals, let's say, okay. But some of you might be also finding audio, some music that inspires you to create, okay? This, during the creation of a TV series, called the production design, where the writers and the executive producer, where they do the hire graphic designer to do sketches, okay, to find the costumes, to find stuff for them, and actually start visualizing, creating a vision of what they have put into place through the Bible, you know, the idea of what they want to run. Well, apparently we cannot do the same all the time, or we are graphic designers ourselves. Okay? We can do that. It's a first step of us describing and creating the world of how we want it to look, okay? But when you do that, one major thing you need to keep in mind is that the same thing that they do also in the TV series is that you need to begin by thinking one or two places where the heroes will be spending most of the time, okay, and try to find graphics for these. What I mean by that is that, as an example, okay, if you see all these police crime investigation series, they always have an office. They always have the police department or their investigating office that you can always see that most of the series they start there and they finish there. Okay, but you need to think for you, what would be that in a D&D game for your heroes? Okay, that might be a tavern, that might be a lighthouse, might be a mage's shop. Especially for some of you, if you have bought the Acquisitions Incorporated, it gives you very nice ideas about what the heroes can use as a headquarters. I think it had a moving, yeah, it had like a ship, an airship. It had a cart drawn by horses. It was like a mobile base for the heroes. Okay, you can create graphics around that. Like how, let's say this cart, how does it look from the outside? Or if it is a lighthouse, where is it located? Graphics, 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 graphics. Okay, it's the best thing you can do for your heroes. Help them with the graphics to visualize. Okay, start delving in, start getting a feel for the campaign, that how they're going to run. And now that we touch that part, the next step would be to start thinking of, once we know the story, we have the layout of how things will run. Next step is to start thinking about our heroes. Okay, what role they're going to play and how they're going to do that. One thing that you can do with your heroes, with your players, is that you can ask them, okay, choose their favorite actors. Okay, what is their favorite actor? Who is it? And maybe ask them, when they build the characters, to visualize that they are this person. It might be Matt Damon, it might be Tom Cruise, might be Brad Pitt when he shot the Troy. Okay, they get to choose, and so on and so forth. Bear in mind that when you do the campaign handout, this Bible, as we said for the series, which sets the theme and the tone, okay, you need to express to the heroes that the characters they need to create, they need to fall within the formula. I mean, okay, I know that heroes want to experiment. They usually want to trail. They want to go and do whatever they want to go and do, their own thing, to have fun. But you do understand that if they create characters with a background that is very fitting to the setting, that helps accentuate, escalate, and make a more alive session for you and for them when they start playing the character. But what I mean by that is that, let's say, for example, on the Undead Hunters campaign, okay, what is the reason for the hero who wants to go out and hunt undead? What is the reason? Did he lose someone? Okay. What is the reason in the freedom fighters for the heroes that want to see the rightful king being throned again? Were they servants of his? And they were having like a good time, they were having nobility positions, rewards, whatever, and they lost all these when he was ousted from the throne, and they want to put him back in because they will gain all these things back, right? Same thing with the Wasteland campaign, with the mercenaries. Did the heroes lose someone? Were they wrongly accused as a mercenaries? Did they fight on the wrong side of the war, and they feel guilt for themselves for what they did, and they're trying to help solve kind of the situation, lighten it up, or actually give back because they believe that they took too much from the people around them. It's things like to keep in mind. Now, another thing, as you will notice, when we run series, usually we have a main character, okay, who is how to say, like he's the main person. He might be the team leader, for example, where everybody else around them is supporting, okay, the whole show to run. Now, this in the series is called. No, I won't go there first. Because first you need to consider if you have someone that you would like to be a team leader, like say for the Undead Hunters campaign, okay, someone might need to be the leader who leads the team where they go and hunt the undead. Usually that role, you will want to give it to somebody who's a very good player. And that means that he's very dedicated, he doesn't miss his sessions, he's into character, he doesn't fools around, and so on and so forth. But this creates one thing that is a bit bad for the other players, because they might be feeling that they are being left out or that they don't get enough time to play. Okay, there is a way to work around that. Okay, but it's good before you start the game if you have a conversation with your players and ask them like who wants to play what, how they want to play it, and how much, and most importantly, how much dedicated are they going to be in running these games, because there is a way around it, as I will discuss a bit later. Because basically, when you create your sessions, there are two types of sessions that usually you create. There are very focused sessions and there are ensemble sessions, and I will describe in a minute. Okay, I think I covered all the heroes. All right, now next one is called the plot hooks. Okay, when we're doing the series and how we're going to run them. So when we're saying plot hooks, that is, you as a dungeon master, you need to write the basic storyline for your first session, for your first season of episodes, right? They don't need to be more than a few lines long, and you can flesh out its adventure right before you run it. All you need to do is, for every episode, as an example, I used earlier 12 sessions. Each session, you can write 2 paragraphs about what to expect, what the hero should expect. And you can leave it open like that, and the heroes can come in, and as they play, you can adjust and see how the things go. All right. So now, usually, let's see. All right. When you create your episodes, episodes fall into 3 categories. Okay. Now, all right. First type of episode that you're gonna run is the standalone episodes. Okay. That means that they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. They might have some pop-up characters on NPCs in this case that they might come in, but usually when the episode finishes, these NPCs, you don't see them again. Okay. This is the classic crime investigation episode where the heroes go in, they find the mystery, they solve it, and it finishes. Next week, next new file line, next new case to solve. These stories not necessarily help to continue the story. They just help to give the viewer normally like an idea of what's happening, what's going on, okay, how things are being run. Now, next type of episodes that you will run usually are the continuity episodes, which means these, as a category, they help progress the story, or they help progress the private story of one of your major heroes, which doesn't necessarily need to be within an episode, might be within 2 or 3 episodes, little by little by little, right? So for example, let's say one episode, the character meets a girl, next episode they get engaged, next episode they get married, next episode or next season they have a baby. Okay, that's slowly continuation of the story. Also, within this type of episodes, you can have a recurring byline. Okay, he might pop up within the story who the heroes fought like 1 to 3 episodes before to help the story progress. Plus, it gives you a feeling of continuation. Okay, I always see this guy before. There's a connection happening, because continuity, basically, this is the thing that you want to give the heroes a feeling of, like there is a continuity between what happens. Like they're not standalone episodes all the time. They have a feeling of, okay, things are progressing. And usually I've seen that heroes, they like to see NPCs coming back again. They like to see violence sometimes coming back again, because this way they feel that there's a continuity within all the sessions that they're playing. All right. And the third type of episodes that you will see, they usually run, is a change of pace episodes, as they're called. There might be one-off, there might be like 1 or 2 episodes, but what they basically do is they stir up things. Okay, they help tell a different story within the background of the already story happening. As an example, they did Buffy the Vampire Slayer. They did one episode where it was shot as a musical. They did it to steer, to make a commotion around how the story is being run. Or you could see on the Star Trek Voyager, they did ask the cast to go back in time to solve something, some mystery, which takes you out of the pace of what's happening, puts you in an entirely different situation, entirely different position, steers the waters, and keeps it interesting. That's why sometimes you want to run. The reason why you want to run the change of pace episodes, to steer the waters and keep it interesting. So now, you, as the DM, when you said, let's say this as an example, these 12 episodes, you need to decide which ones of these will be the standalone, which one of these will be the continuity, and which one of these will be the change of pace. Again, all this stems from the fact that you are trying to tell a story that will help, give a purpose, give a meaning, teach something to the players, or educate the audience that will be watching this. Or if you do a live stream, for example, or if you want to write it down as a book later on to produce. So for that one, you need to create a chart, as I said, and the most important one, you also need to run a session 0, where it will be your debut session, and it will be like a slam bang opener in which the premise and theme of your campaign takes center stage, and each of the characters gets something interesting to do that demonstrates their essential nature, the background, the choices they did on the background, why they chose to play the characters they chose to play. Now let's see. The next step will be the episode design. Usually, when you do start your scenes, when you do start your sessions with the heroes, usually you want to do a couple cutscenes in the beginning to set the mood for how the episode will go. If you've seen on the TV what they do, they put to play like 3-5 minutes first to give you the theme. Okay, they leave you in a cliffhanger and then they go for a break. If you've noticed, usually a TV episode has about 4 segments, and what they're trying to do every time, they progress a bit the story, they leave you in a cliffhanger, then they go for a commercial break before they come back. Now, what you need to keep in mind is that it might be 4 segments to run a session, but it doesn't necessarily need to be this way for you when you run your adventures, okay? Because it might be that you might run in one session all 4 segments, or it might be that one segment might be a whole session because it's a very big story you're trying to say. Plus also keep in mind that the characters will tend to want to do their own thing other than what you have planned. Now what happens is, first session sets the theme and the mood for the story we're going to see, plus you play a bit. Up to segment 3, we build up the story, and the segment 4 is where the resolution, the escalations, and the zenith is happening. Okay, in between, you can have cutscenes that helps the heroes realize some things, how they happen and why they happen, or you can totally ignore all these things, and you can run it like up until maybe segment 3, then do a break and then come and play, because there are some there are some dungeon masters that they're okay to play straightforward for 4 or 5 hours, but some of them, they want to take a break every 1 hour or 2 hours. So this is a good chance at the time you want to take a break to leave your heroes at the cliffhanger and let them wander for more, okay, and wait for more when you come back for the break. Because remember, as I said earlier, you need to be engaging, entertaining, and educating. Engaging, one way to be engaging is to leave sometimes the story in a cliffhanger. Okay, let's see next. All right, one thing that I mentioned earlier, but I didn't elaborate a bit more, is that when you run your episodes usually, from a character point of view, they run around 2 specific themes, right? One is that either you focus on 1 or 2 heroes, depending on the availability you have for the night. Either you focus on 1 or 2 heroes, which might be progressing the story of these 2 people, or them just being the ones that solve the mystery, or it can be an ensemble time. And how ensemble time works in a TV series is that you have a cast of characters, like 10 characters, okay? And everybody takes equal time of presentation on the TV. And this way, nobody feels that they're more important or less important than any other. And that's one way to solve the issue of having a team leader, because there might be an episode where you have an ensemble session, all the party members are in, everybody takes a bit of time, okay? Especially if you think about you need to implement stuff in the session where everybody feels happy. Like if you have a warrior, okay, you need to have something that demands for a strength check or an attack roll that usually warriors are good at. Or if you have a rogue, somebody to pick a lock, defuse a trap, or do something like that. So they will feel like that. Or if you have a cleric, maybe turn an undead or heal somebody. So every one of the characters, they feel like they're contributing to the story to help it progress. And this is the classic way we see this, how an ensemble team up plays out on D&D session is the classic dungeon crawl, where heroes go in, they all collaborate together to solve what's happening, the riddles and the traps in the dungeon, and they all take the treasure, open the chest, take them home, and that's it. This way, everybody feels that they're contributing a bit to the whole story, how it's playing. Now, with that being said, I'm near the end, and I want to say a couple more final things before I open it up for a Q&A, okay? When you set up your stories like this, always remember to have fun, okay? It's the primary, because what might be fun for you might not end up being fun for the players. But again, that's why you give them the Bible, so everybody's in alignment of what's going to happen. But primary rule is always have fun, try to have fun. Second rule of thumb is be inspired, not limited. Why am I saying this? Because I've seen some people wanted to try play a D&D campaign that they got inspired by TV series or so, but they thought that they were limited because, you know, we're doing something here or that didn't happen in the series. And they try to limit to fit into a mold. Sometimes that's not nice, you know, because you're just trying to have fun. So it doesn't matter if it didn't happen there, it can happen here, because here is our story, that what we're sharing, the time we're sharing together to play is our story. And the last thing, as a dungeon master, you might have laid out the best plans, you might have amazing inspiration, you might have put hours and hours of preparing what you're preparing. But what you should be really prepared for is that things don't always go the way that you want. And as the old saying says, that no plan survives contact with the enemy, because no matter what you have prepared, your heroes might want to do something different. But I think the solution to that is always the Bible that you have given them in the beginning, because they can always backtrack, have a look on the theme, on the tone, on the story, what we're trying to say. They always can backtrack and keep in mind why did they all signed up for this. So this way you can help yourself and them to keep it a bit balanced. Right, with that being said, I've reached the end of my presentation for the day, and I would like to open it up, and I will unmute all of you. And whoever wants to ask me a question, feel free to do so, if you have questions.
I popped some in the chat.
Yeah, let me see. Let's see, David. Should there be two Bibles, a player's guide and a larger series Bible that has details only the DM should know? If there is a detailed template for, all right, okay, I'll answer the first part. It can be, yes, but think of it about another way. The Bible, the purpose of the Bible, what it does, especially in terms of character creation, is that what you're trying to do is you're trying to solve and minimize objections your players might have. You want to minimize any objections they might have. That's why the sole purpose of it is. You can have one that only the DM will know, because in the end of the day, yes, because imagine I said that the Bible is like the campaign handout, what the heroes can and will know. And the second part of what you described from that sentence is that, yes, there is some information that will be private, that only you will know as a dungeon master.
Or that the players will know eventually.
Yes, they will discover as they go along, of course. And let's see, is there a detailed template for a series Bible, a set of proven techniques that can help us more? Yes, I will have it, and I will upload it on the group chat on Messenger. I have a structure that shows like, it is based on the undead hunters, and it shows what the heroes discover. And I can give you a quick example with the undead hunters, but you will see it later on, is that, let's say the first episode is the main hero, he's going to the headquarters of the undead hunters to speak with the officer. On his way there, he finds a horde of zombies attacking the town. He fights a few of them, he escapes, and he progresses, all right? End of first segment, he's being reinstated as the leader of the group, and at the same time, they receive information that another horde of zombies, they have surrounded the mayor's house. And on the second segment, they go and find out what happens. The rest, I will upload it on the group chat. I hope I answer your question here. Excellent. All right, anybody else? Mark, you usually come up with the questions.
No, I think it was when you tie the two together, two sessions together. I think it's carrying on with many of the same story building themes, but with the series focus, it seems that you it's good to have that overriding story, but the many of the same principles still are there for the one shots.
Yeah, pretty much. And then actually the next Sunday session will be about campaign handouts, which is very similar to what we're saying and what we said on the one shots. But I will elaborate more. I will have some visuals. Okay, one question that I don't see anybody asking, and I will answer that for you, is that I mentioned earlier that it's good to have one main character, okay, who will be the pillar stone for the rest of the team. And what I was asked last week when around this seminar was, what happens if that main character dies? Now, there are two ways to go about it, okay? And the third unofficial one. First one, if we're playing D&D high fantasy, you can always say there was a clone, okay? You can clone back the character as an example. Or if the heroes are higher level, somebody can raise him, okay? Second is if you're playing a setting like a World of Darkness where like raise dead is not so much an option unless somebody becomes an undead or something. You can introduce a character that is very similar to the primary character, okay? Who might be like a close relative, or it might be even a twin brother, who knows, whatever you wanna make it be. And the third and the unofficial way to solve it is like trying not to get that character killed. Because yes, imagine like you played 6 or 7 sessions out of the 12 you went around with the heroes and suddenly that guy dies. It will create a little turmoil about, okay, how we go around because, oh, you know, this hero's storyline now has just ended. So yeah, it's something that you need to be careful and aware of when you run your stories like that. Right, anyone else?
I had a question.
Yep.
The game that I'm kind of running at the moment, we've kind of started, it's a new system, we've done a kind of a one shot. So we haven't really had the campaign pre kind of handout talking about the tone and the kind of setting.
Yeah.
So in terms of when there is one that's set upon, would you kind of advise getting the group round and go, okay, from now on, we will be looking at this tone, or would you do it as a gradual change without really letting the players know, but kind of moving it more in that direction so it's a bit more organic?
All right. Okay. Are you writing your stories every week, or you're using like a pre-made stories?
So I'm kind of home brewing them. What I'm doing is I'm letting the characters in the previous session dictate what I then do.
Yeah.
So in my last session, there was a talk about a ship that a character once knew about. So I'm now writing a story about where they go to that ship and stuff happens.
Okay.
So I'm going from like week to week.
All right, perfect. All right, check this out. What you just described is the perfect example of the episode where it's called change of pace. Okay, so in that next episode, you can change the pace based on how you like to run your games. Okay, as I said, dark, high fantasy, horror, mystery, whatever that may be. Okay, you can structure your next episode to be around one of these themes and see how the players, okay, they react to it. If they like it, that change of pace, even if the adventure right after that is a standalone, it can incorporate some themes from the previous one that you run. Or have a chat with your players in between the session and say, what themes and tones do they usually like seeing? Okay, because you will be surprised. Okay, as an example, right? Let's say you have 4 players plus you 5. So each one of you, whenever they come to play a game, they have a different opinion of what fun is for them. Okay, one might be fun in high fantasy, another might be like a horror, another might be creepy mystery, whatever it might be, and so on and so forth. So when you do this question, if you do this question to your group, what you're trying to say, like you're trying to do an open-ended question because you're looking for where you're gonna get the highest agreement, the highest level of agreement.
Yes.
Okay, if 3 out of 5 they say yes, then probably your next change of pace session might incorporate these themes in. Okay, and that will help you see a bit what they like, what they don't like.
Lovely, thank you.
I have had that happen to me 2 weeks ago when we were a new group with a new DM. We started 5th level, okay? All of us went in hoping we would have combat encounters and we'll solve one mystery maybe. And, you know, see how powerful we are, how we can deal with stuff. And instead the whole adventure was mystery, puzzle solving, and escape the traps. And that's it. And most of us just like checked out from the first hour. Because the DM didn't communicate that with us. So it's good to something to keep in mind.
Definitely.
I would say try this out and just let me know how it goes.
Definitely.
All right, let's see. Welcome, my friend. Thanks for asking. All right, let me see. David asked me. Bear with me for a moment. Okay, so David says, I frequently have players develop brief backgrounds for characters and try to induce those details when developing story elements for the campaigns. Is that going too deep? In one game, APC worked an evil stepfather into his background. I ended up making him one of the small cabal of violence. That's perfect. That's perfect, because especially when you're running a TV series type of games, right? You might have that structure where you don't play prescribed adventures. You make them on the go. When you make adventures on the go, this is when the character's background is more important, because sometimes you will, or most of the time actually, you will want to incorporate a lot of the character's background in the story, especially if you play a D10 system like World of Darkness, as I said, because in these sessions you see more these things coming up and showing up and happening more often, like how the characters are affected. So it's perfect. But based on what you described, you always need to be aware of the sensitivity of the players that you have, because there are some themes that not everyone is okay with. Okay, I'm not gonna name them now, but you do understand. So you need to check. It's good to check with your heroes. Are they okay with it? Okay, you put in your background, but are you okay to play with it, or you just want it to be something in the background and leave it at that? It's always good to check with them how deep you want to go as well. Let's see. I also tend to rotate focus on PCs, giving it some time in the spotlight, which seems to have worked out fairly well. Yes, it's amazing. It is what I said earlier on the dungeon. You know, you have a stuck door, so you need a fighter to open it. You have a trap, so you need a thief to, dissolve it. You need to cross a chasm, and well, only the wizard knows how to levitate and helps the group come across. This way, everybody gets a bit of showtime. Okay, like an ensemble session as they do in the TV series. So that's perfect. Keep up doing that. As far as handouts goes, we use Greyhawk material for the larger campaign background. Okay, but develop specific handouts for areas, cities they visit within the campaign. Perfect. All right. This is the theme that I'm going to run for next week, campaign handouts with examples and so. But what I'm going to tell you, if you're running an established campaign, there's one good thing with it. You don't need to spend too much time on creating the campaign handout, because let's say, give or take, everybody knows about Forgotten, what happens there. Everybody knows about Dragonlance. Everybody knows about Greyhawk. They know the basics. So that's redundant information that if you create a campaign handout, you don't need to have that included in. And what you said, develop specific handouts for areas and cities. This is perfect. This is perfect. Because although the heroes know what's happening in the world, they don't know necessarily what's happening in specific areas. And this is where your campaign handout comes in. My God, is like what you just described is exactly what I'm going to be saying next week, but I don't want to give away everything. But I'm just going to say it's perfect what you just described. And please come next Sunday. Please come and join in, and I will tell you even more, because there's no point of going on everything now. But it's amazing. Yes, you have started doing a really good job here. All right, guys, that's all for me. Do you have any more questions? I will be here for a few more minutes. If not, thank you for coming. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight. And I hope that I will see you again next Sunday at 5 p.m. That's all.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark, for coming in again, my friend. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you again for doing this.
I thank you, guys. All right, cool. Take care, guys. All right, I will close it now. Take care. Have a good afternoon.